Let me tell you about two boys I grew up with back in Idaho. Both came from working class families, both had the same teachers, both dreamed of becoming wealthy and successful. They'd sit on the school steps during lunch and talk about the cars they'd drive, the houses they'd own, the trips they'd take. Same dreams, same background, same starting point. Today, 30 years later, one drives a taxi and complains about his luck. The other owns a chain of successful businesses and travels the world. What made the difference? Here's what I learned. You don't get what you want in life. You get what you work for. Now that might sound harsh, but stick with me because this single truth will change everything about how you approach your days, your goals, and your future. The boy who became successful didn't want success more than his friend. They both wanted it equally. The difference was one learned to work for it, while the other kept wishing for it. And let me tell you, the marketplace doesn't care about your wishes. It only rewards value. I learned this lesson the hard way when I was 25 years old. I had started my first business with such high hopes and big dreams. I wanted to be successful so badly I could taste it. I'd lie in bed at night visualizing my success, planning how I'd spend my profits, rehearsing my victory speech. But you know what I wasn't doing? The work. I was so busy wanting and wishing and hoping that I forgot the most important part, actually doing the things that create success. That business failed within 6 months, and I was devastated. I remember sitting in my empty office, looking at the unpaid bills scattered across my desk, wondering what went wrong. That's when my mentor asked me a question that changed my life. He said, "Jim, did you fail because you didn't want success badly enough?" "Of course not," I told him. "I wanted it more than anything." "Then maybe," he said, "wanting isn't the problem. Maybe the problem is you thought wanting was enough." Right there, in that moment of failure and embarrassment, I discovered one of life's most powerful truths. The world doesn't owe you anything because you want it. Success isn't a participation trophy handed out to everyone with good intentions. Life operates on a very simple principle. You get paid for value delivered, not for dreams dreamed. Most people confuse wishing with planning. They confuse hoping with doing. They think because they want something really, really badly, somehow the universe will conspire to give it to them. But here's what I've observed after decades of studying successful people. They don't want success any more than unsuccessful people do. They just understand that wanting is the starting point, not the finish line. Think about this for a moment. Walk through any neighborhood and you'll find people who want better health, but they're not willing to change their eating habits or exercise regularly. You'll meet folks who want financial freedom, but they won't invest the time to learn about money or develop valuable skills. They want better relationships, but they won't do the work of becoming a better person themselves. The truth is, wanting is easy. It requires no effort, no sacrifice, no change in behavior. You can want while sitting on your couch, while complaining about your circumstances, while doing absolutely nothing different than you did yesterday. But working now, that's a different story entirely. When I finally understood this principle, everything changed. I stopped asking, "What do I want?" and started asking, "What am I willing to work for?" I stopped fantasizing about results and started focusing on activities. I stopped dreaming about the destination and started paying attention to the daily disciplines that would take me there. Here's something interesting I discovered. The marketplace is incredibly fair. It doesn't care about your background, your excuses, your reasons, or your circumstances. It only cares about one thing. What value are you bringing? What problems are you solving? What skills have you developed? What work are you doing? The marketplace will pay a secretary $30,000 a year and a surgeon $300,000 a year, not because one person is more valuable as a human being, but because one has developed skills that are more valuable in the marketplace. The surgeon didn't want success more than the secretary. The surgeon worked for the skills that the marketplace rewards highly. This is why I tell people, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems. Wish for more skills to handle them. Don't wish for less challenge, wish for more wisdom to meet the challenge. Because here's what I've learned, for things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you have to get better. Let me share something personal with you. After that first business failure, I could have spent my time wishing the economy were better, wishing customers were easier to find, wishing the competition weren't so tough. Instead, I decided to work on the one thing I could control, myself. I worked on my skills, my knowledge, my habits, my discipline. I worked on becoming the kind of person who could succeed regardless of the circumstances. And you know what happened? As I got better, my results got better. As my skills improved, my value in the marketplace increased. As I developed better habits, I started getting better outcomes. It wasn't magic, it wasn't luck, it wasn't connections or timing. It was simply the natural result of aligning my work with what I wanted. The beautiful thing about this principle is that it puts you in complete control of your future. You don't have to wait for the right opportunity, the perfect timing, or ideal circumstances. You don't need anyone's permission or approval. You just need to identify what you want and then ask yourself honestly, what am I willing to work for? Because here's the final truth I want to leave you with in this first part. The person you become while working for what you want is far more valuable than what you actually get. The discipline you develop, the skills you acquire, the character you build, the confidence you gain, these become part of who you are forever. They can't be taken away by economic downturns, company layoffs, or changing circumstances. So as we continue this conversation, I want you to start thinking differently about your goals and dreams. Stop asking if they're possible and start asking if you're willing to work for them. Because I promise you this, if you'll do the work will work for you. You know, there's a story about the Chinese bamboo tree that teaches us everything we need to know about how real success works. When you plant this tree, you water it and fertilize it for an entire year, and nothing happens. Not a single shoot breaks through the ground. The second year, you keep watering, keep fertilizing, and still nothing. Third year, fourth year, same thing. Nothing visible, no growth you can see, no evidence that all your work is paying off. But in the fifth year, something miraculous happens. That bamboo tree grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. 90 feet! Now here's the question. Did it grow 90 feet in 6 weeks? Or did it grow 90 feet in 5 years? The answer, of course, is 5 years. All that watering, all that fertilizing, all that care during the invisible years was building a root system strong enough to support rapid growth when the time came. That's exactly how success works in real life. Most people see the 90 feet in 6 weeks, the sudden breakthrough, the overnight success, the big promotion, and they think that's when the work happened. But you and I know better. The real work happened during the invisible years, the daily disciplines, the small actions that nobody saw or applauded. Let me tell you about 2 people I knew. Both wanted to get in shape. The first person joined a gym on January 1st and worked out for 3 hours. 3 hours! Came home exhausted, sore, barely able to move. Felt great about the commitment. Then didn't go back for 2 weeks. When he finally returned, worked out for 2 more hours, got sore again, and took another week off. By March, he'd quit entirely. The second person also joined that gym on January 1st. But instead of 3 hours, she worked out for 30 minutes. Just 30 minutes. Not impressive, not dramatic, nothing to brag about on social media. But she went back the next day for another 30 minutes, and the day after that, and the day after that. 365 days later, guess who was in better shape? Here's what I learned from watching this. It's not the dramatic gestures that create lasting change. It's the small, consistent actions repeated over time. The first person was trying to get fit in one workout. The second person understood that fitness is built one workout at a time, one day at a time, one choice at a time. This is what I call the philosophy of the slight edge. Small disciplines repeated daily become major accomplishments over time. But here's the catch. Small errors in judgment repeated daily also become major disasters over time. The same principle that can make you successful can also destroy you, depending on which side of it you choose to live on. You see, it's easy to work out today. It's also easy not to work out today. It's easy to eat an apple instead of a cookie. It's also easy to eat the cookie instead of the apple. It's easy to read 10 pages of a good book tonight. It's also easy to watch television instead. These daily choices seem insignificant in the moment, but their cumulative effect over time is enormous. I remember when I first started reading personal development books. My mentor told me to read at least 30 minutes every day. 30 minutes didn't seem like much. Some days I thought, what difference can 30 minutes make? But I did it anyway. After a year of reading 30 minutes a day, I had read over 20 books. 20 books. Think about how much that changed my thinking, my perspective, my possibilities. But here's what's interesting. If someone had asked me on day 100 what difference all this reading was making, I probably would have said not much. The change was so gradual, so subtle, that I couldn't see it happening day by day. But looking back over the year, the transformation was remarkable. That's how the slight edge works. It's subtle, it's incremental, but it's incredibly powerful. The problem is, most people want dramatic results from minimal effort. They want to plant the bamboo tree on Monday and see 90 feet of growth by Friday. When it doesn't happen, they give up. They think the system doesn't work, the advice isn't good, or they're just not cut out for success. But the truth is, they quit during the invisible years, right before the breakthrough was about to happen. I've watched this pattern repeat itself thousands of times. People start strong, full of enthusiasm and big plans. They're going to exercise every day, eat perfectly, read for hours, save half their income, and completely transform their lives in 30 days. By day 15, reality sets in. Progress seems slow, motivation wanes, old habits creep back in. By day 30, they're back where they started, often feeling worse about themselves than before they began. But the people who succeed understand something different. They know that success isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. It's not about huge changes, it's about small improvements compounded over time. They're not trying to transform their entire life in a month. They're trying to get a little better every single day. Here's a simple example. Let's say you want to improve your finances. Most people think they need to make dramatic changes. Find a new job, start a business, make big investments. But what if you just improved your financial situation by 1% every day? That doesn't sound like much, right? But 1% improvement every day would double your results in just 70 days. That's the power of compound growth applied to any area of life. The challenge is that daily disciplines are both easy to do and easy not to do. Nobody will force you to read tonight instead of watching television. Nobody will make you save money instead of spending it. Nobody will require you to exercise instead of sitting on the couch. These choices are entirely up to you, and that's both the blessing and the curse of personal development. What I've discovered is that successful people have learned to do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. They've developed the discipline to make the right choices even when they don't feel like it. They understand that motivation gets you started, but habit keeps you going. They've learned to rely on systems and disciplines rather than emotions and feelings. Let me tell you something about discipline that most people don't understand. Discipline doesn't restrict your freedom, it creates it. When you have the discipline to do what you should do when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not, you earn the right to do what you want to do when you want to do it. The person who has the discipline to exercise regularly earns the freedom to enjoy good health. The person who has the discipline to save money earns the freedom to make choices based on desire rather than desperation. The person who has the discipline to develop valuable skills earns the freedom to work where they want, when they want, for whom they want. But most people see it backwards. They think discipline is bondage, restriction, limitation. They want freedom first and discipline later. But life doesn't work that way. First comes discipline, then comes freedom. First comes the daily habits, then comes the lifestyle those habits create. So here's what I want you to understand as we move forward. The difference between successful and unsuccessful people isn't talent, luck, connections, or circumstances. It's the willingness to do what others won't do, consistently, over time. even when progress seems slow and results seem small. Because small hinges swing big doors, and daily disciplines are the small hinges that will swing open the door to the life you really want. Let me tell you about a conversation I had with a man at one of my seminars. During the break, he came up to me and said, "Mr. Rohn, I've been working at the same company for 15 years and I'm still making the same salary I started with. It's not fair. My boss doesn't appreciate me. The company doesn't value loyalty anymore. And good people like me just can't get ahead in today's economy." I listened to his story, and then I asked him a simple question. In those 15 years, how much have you changed? He looked puzzled, so I continued. Are you more valuable to the marketplace today than you were 15 years ago? Have you developed new skills? Have you grown personally and professionally? Or are you essentially the same person doing the same job the same way you did 15 years ago? The silence that followed told me everything I needed to know. This man had spent 15 years blaming external circumstances for his lack of progress when the real issue was internal. He was waiting for the company to change, for his boss to change, for the economy to change, for someone else to recognize his value. But he had never asked the most important question, what do I need to change about myself? Here's what I've learned after decades of studying success and failure. For things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you have to get better. For things to improve, you have to improve. You can't keep doing the same things and expect different results. You can't keep being the same person and expect a different life. But most people resist this truth because it's much easier to blame circumstances than to change them. It's easier to point fingers than to take responsibility. It's easier to complain about what's wrong with the world than to work on what's wrong with yourself. The problem is, blaming doesn't pay the bills. Complaining doesn't create opportunities. Making excuses doesn't make your life better. I learned this lesson the hard way early in my career. I was struggling financially, and I had a whole list of reasons why. The economy was bad, my boss was unfair, customers were cheap, competition was fierce, the government was taking too much in taxes. I had a reason for everything. And you know what? Most of my reasons were probably valid, but here's what I discovered. Reasons don't pay the bills. My mentor listened to all my reasons, and then he said something that changed my perspective forever. He said, "Jim, you can have reasons or you can have results, but you can't have both. Successful people focus on what they can control, not what they can't control. They focus on solutions, not problems. They focus on possibilities, not limitations." That's when I realized I had been living my life backwards. I was spending all my time and energy on things I couldn't control, the economy, other people's decisions, market conditions, company policies. Meanwhile, I was ignoring the one thing I could completely control, myself. My attitude, my skills, my habits, my choices, my responses to circumstances. The moment I shifted my focus from what I couldn't control to what I could control, everything started to change. Instead of complaining about the economy, I worked on developing recession-proof skills. Instead of blaming my boss, I focused on becoming so valuable that any boss would want to keep me. Instead of criticizing customers, I learned how to better serve them and solve their problems. This shift from victim mentality to victor mentality is the difference between people who struggle and people who succeed. Victims focus on what's wrong with everyone and everything else. Victors focus on what they can do differently to get better results. Victims ask, "Why me?" Victors ask, "How can I turn this around?" Let me tell you about responsibility. It's not about blame or guilt or beating yourself up for past mistakes. Responsibility is about recognizing that you have the power to influence your future outcomes through your current choices and actions. It's about understanding that while you can't control what happens to you, you can control what happens in you and through you. When something goes wrong in your life, you have two choices. You can ask who's to blame, or you can ask what can I learn? You can ask why did this happen to me? Or you can ask how can I use this to become better? The first set of questions makes you a victim. The second set makes you a student. I remember when I was young and struggling, I used to blame the government for my financial problems. If only taxes weren't so high, I'd say. If only the politicians would get their act together. Then one day, someone asked me a question that stopped me cold. If the government is the problem, why are some people doing well despite the government? That question forced me to face an uncomfortable truth. The government was the same for everyone, but everyone wasn't getting the same results. Some people were thriving while others were barely surviving, all under the same government, the same economy, the same tax system. The difference wasn't the external circumstances, it was how people responded to those circumstances. This is what I call the philosophy of personal responsibility. It says that while you can't control the wind, you can adjust your sails. You can't control the seasons, but you can prepare for winter during summer. You can't control what others do, but you can control what you do in response to what others do. Taking responsibility doesn't mean everything that happens to you is your fault. Bad things happen to good people. Unfair situations occur. Economic downturns affect everyone. Natural disasters strike without warning. But here's what I've observed. Some people use these challenges as excuses to quit, while others use them as reasons to get better. The people who succeed long-term have learned that responsibility is actually freedom in disguise. When you take responsibility for your results, you're also taking control of your ability to create different results. When you blame others, you're giving them power over your future. When you take responsibility, you're taking that power back. Here's something interesting about successful people. They take responsibility for things that aren't even their fault. They ask themselves, even though this wasn't my fault, what could I have done differently to prevent it or handle it better? This isn't about self-blame. It's about self-empowerment. It's about looking for ways to be better prepared, more skilled, more valuable next time. I want you to understand something crucial. Taking responsibility for your life isn't a burden, it's a privilege. It means you're no longer at the mercy of circumstances, other people's decisions, or external events. It means you have the power to write your own story, create your own outcomes, and build the life you want. But here's the challenge. Responsibility requires you to give up your favorite excuses. It requires you to stop playing the victim and start playing the hero of your own story. It requires you to stop waiting for someone else to solve your problems and start solving them yourself. It requires you to stop hoping for a better past and start working toward a better future. So as we continue this conversation, I want you to ask yourself an honest question. What am I taking responsibility for in my life? And what am I still blaming on external circumstances? Because I promise you this, the moment you take full responsibility for where you are, you also take full control of where you're going. You know, everything we've talked about today comes down to one thing, your personal philosophy. Your philosophy is how you think about life, work, success, and your place in the world. It's the set of beliefs and principles that guide your decisions and shape your destiny. And here's what I've discovered. Your philosophy forms your attitude. Your attitude determines your actions, and your actions create your results. Most people never take the time to develop a conscious philosophy. They just drift through life, reacting to circumstances, following the crowd, hoping things will work out somehow. But successful people understand that philosophy is the foundation everything else is built upon. A weak philosophy creates a weak life. A strong philosophy creates a strong life. Let me tell you about the most powerful teacher I ever had, and it wasn't in any classroom, it was an ant. Yes, an ant. I was sitting in my backyard one summer afternoon, feeling sorry for myself about my circumstances, when I noticed a small ant carrying a piece of food that was at least 3 times its size. This little creature was struggling, falling down, getting back up, changing directions when it hit obstacles, but never giving up. I watched this ant for over an hour as it navigated around rocks, climbed over sticks, and found its way around puddles. It never stopped, never complained, never waited for help. It just kept working with a sense of purpose that put my own efforts to shame. That's when it hit me. This tiny ant had a better work philosophy than most humans. The ant understands something we've forgotten. It knows that winter is coming, so it works during the summer. It doesn't wait until it feels like working. It doesn't work only when conditions are perfect. It doesn't take the summer off because it worked hard last summer. It works because work is what ants do, and working during the productive seasons is what ensures survival during the lean times. Human beings are the only creatures that will work just hard enough not to get fired and get paid just enough not to quit. We're the only species that knows a disaster is coming and will still spend our money instead of saving it. We're the only beings that will take the summer off and then wonder why winter is so harsh. Here's what I learned from that ant. Develop the philosophy of working while others rest, saving while others spend, learning while others are being entertained. Because the seasons of life don't change for anyone. Spring always follows winter, summer always follows spring, harvest always follows planting, and winter always returns. The question isn't whether these seasons will come, the question is whether you'll be prepared for them. This brings me to one of the most destructive philosophies of our time, the entitlement mentality. Too many people believe they deserve success without earning it, deserve respect without giving it, deserve rewards without working for them. They think the world owes them something simply because they exist, because they went to school, because they show up for work. But let me tell you something about entitlement. It's the enemy of achievement. When you feel entitled to something, you stop working for it. When you believe you deserve something without earning it, you become angry and bitter when you don't get it. Entitlement makes you a victim of circumstances rather than a creator of circumstances. The philosophy that creates success is exactly the opposite. It's the philosophy of earning, of adding value, of becoming useful to others. It says that the marketplace rewards contribution, not need. It rewards value delivered, not hours spent. It rewards results produced, not intentions declared. I remember when I first started speaking, I thought I deserved to be paid well, simply because I was sincere and I meant well. I couldn't understand why. Some speakers made thousands of dollars while I was struggling to get bookings for a few hundred. Then someone explained it to me. Jim, the marketplace doesn't pay you for being sincere. It pays you for being skillful. It doesn't reward good intentions. It rewards good results. That's when I stopped asking, what do I deserve? And started asking, what do I need to become? I stopped focusing on what I wanted to get and started focusing on what I needed to give. I worked on my speaking skills, my content, my ability to help people get results. As I became more valuable, I became more sought after. As I became more sought after, I could command higher fees. This is the philosophy of work and reward in action. The better you become, the better your life becomes. The more valuable you become to others, the more rewards life offers you. The more problems you learn to solve, the more opportunities you attract. It's not magic, it's not luck, it's not connections. It's the natural result of becoming better at what you do. But here's something most people don't understand about work. It changes you more than you change it. Every day you show up when you don't feel like it, you build discipline. Every time you push through resistance, you build character. Every time you do quality work, regardless of the circumstances, you build integrity. The work is shaping you into the person you need to become to handle the success you say you want. This is why I tell people that success is not something you pursue, it's something you attract by the person you become. You don't have to chase success if you become the kind of person success is attracted to. You don't have to hunt for opportunities if you become the kind of person opportunities seek out. Think about it this way. Would you rather be lucky or skillful? Most people would choose lucky, but I'd choose skillful every time. Because luck is temporary, but skills last forever. Luck can disappear overnight, but skills compound over time. Luck depends on circumstances, but skills work regardless of circumstances. The philosophy I want to leave you with is this: work on yourself harder than you work on your job. Your job will give you a living, but developing yourself will give you a life. Your job will pay your bills, but your personal development will make you wealthy. Your job will occupy your time, but your growth will occupy your mind with possibilities. Here's what happens when you commit to this philosophy. You stop being at the mercy of external circumstances and start creating your own circumstances. You stop being a thermometer that reacts to the environment and start being a thermostat that controls the environment. You stop being a victim of the marketplace and start being a valuable contributor to the marketplace. But this philosophy requires something most people aren't willing to give: time. It takes time to develop skills. It takes time to build character. It takes time to create value. It takes time to become the person you need to be to have the life you want to have. Most people want the results today for work they might be willing to do tomorrow, but life doesn't work that way. The time is going to pass anyway. The question is, will you use it to become better or just to get older? Will you use it to develop skills or just develop complaints? Will you use it to add value to your life and the lives of others, or will you use it to add years to your age without adding life to your years? I want to challenge you with this starting today, not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions are perfect, but today. Begin working on yourself. Read books that stretch your mind. Develop skills that increase your value. Build habits that improve your character. Associate with people who challenge you to grow, because the person you become in the process of pursuing what you want is far more valuable than what you actually get. You see, what you get will make you a living, but who you become will make you a life. And at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. Not just achieving success, but becoming successful. Not just getting what you want, but becoming worthy of what you want. Because you don't get what you want in life, you get what you work for. And the beautiful thing is, when you truly understand this principle and live by it, you discover that what you become through the work is far more rewarding than what the work gives you.